Hello, everyone. I'll be doing my speech on capital punishment, how it's justice, and why it should be supported. Cass R. Sunstein, in an article of a 2005 edition of Stanford Law Review, wrote, "On certain empirical assumptions, capital punishment may be morally required, not for retributive reasons, but rather to prevent the taking of innocent lives. In so saying, we are suggesting the possibility that states are obliged to maintain the death penalty option." Stanford Law Review 2005. Primarily, it's all that would be criminals fear. If you read about Bundy's life in prison, waiting 9 years for his execution, you will see that the man exhausted every single legal point he and his lawyers could think of on an attempt to spare him execution. He defended himself in prison interviews by blaming pornography for causing his uncontrollable teenage libido, and for causing him to think of women as objects and not humans. He attempted to have his death sentence commuted to life without parole by explaining that it was all pornography's fault, and that if it had never existed, he would be a good person. When that didn't work, he pretended to come clean and tell police where the bodies of unfound victims were, so that their families could have closure. He never once admitted that he was a bad person, and just before his execution, he claimed that he hadn't done anything wrong. It was obvious that he feared being put to death. He did his best to avert it. Listverse.com. The Bible states, "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in his own image." Genesis 9:6. R. Albert Mohler, Jr., a Christian leader and president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, wrote, "The death penalty was explicitly grounded in the fact that God made every individual human being in his own image, and thus an act of intentional murder is an assault upon human dignity and the very image of God." He continues, "In the simplest form, the Bible condemns murder and calls for the death of the murderer. The one who intentionally takes life by murder forfeits the right to his own life." CNN News. Finally, the death penalty saves innocent lives. A study conducted from the years of 2003 and 2006 examined the data. Researchers found that each execution resulted in 5 fewer homicides, and commuting a death sentence means 5 more homicides. CBS News 2007. Technically speaking, for every 10 executions that were refrained, the lives of 50 innocent people will be at risk or lost. Imagine that in a 10-year lapse. In conclusion, the death sentence is all criminals fear, meaning that with the death sentence still in play, criminals will think twice and there is a higher possibility of them committing a crime. Second main point. The Bible quotes support the death penalty because when we think of God, we see positive views, and the Bible states we are made from God's image and God wants us to be good. Therefore, if someone commits crime, they are not serving for God but for evil, so they are doing more wrong than what is expected of them. Keeping the death penalty will ensure fewer homicides yearly, and abolishing the death sentence, homicides will continue to increase over time elapses. Sure enough, many who oppose the death penalty will say it's inhumane, but have we forgotten that God states in the 10 Commandments, which are given to us through Moses, "Thou shalt not kill"? And God himself states, "He who kills shall be killed." Thank you for listening to my speech. The citations I used were Stanford Law Review 2005, Genesis 9:6, Listverse.com, CNN News, CBSN News 2007, and the 10 Commandments. Thank you again for listening to my speech, and have a good day.